So today we're taking a closer look at another weapon. This is the CZ-3A1. Now once again, this weapon was selected by you guys in the comments of the previous video. So any weapon you'd like to see reviewed next, don't forget to leave that in the comments below. So the CZ-3A1, this is a brand new weapon to the Battlefield series, but it has been featured in some other first-person shooters before, predominantly the Call of Duty series, under the name of the Scorpion Evo, so whilst this weapon is brand new to Battlefield, you may already recognise it. Now this weapon is categorised as a PDW, which means it falls exclusively into the Engineer class. Now my first impressions of this weapon, I was massively impressed by its rate of fire, which led me to question, could this weapon be the beast for Domination? Well, let's take a look at the stats. So straight off the bat, we can see this weapon has a very similar damage model to a lot of the other PDWs available in its class, with a maximum damage of 25% in the first 8 meters, and that slowly peels off to 12.1% at 55 meters. Now, that 12.1% minimum damage may be a little higher than a few of the other personal defense weapons, but it still sits about average for this kind of weapon. Now, moving on to the rate of fire, this is really where this weapon comes into its own. With an RPM of 1,000 rounds per minute, this is not only the fastest PDW, but also one of the fastest weapons in the game, so this weapon is actually the fastest firing available of any of the weapons to the Engineer class. Now unfortunately that speed doesn't reciprocate across onto its velocity, with rounds only travelling at 370 meters a second. But with a 31 round magazine, including one in the chamber, this weapon has the same capacity to hold ammunition as any of the assault rifles. So how does this weapon stack up against some of its other PDW rivals? So bringing in the P90 and the MX4, arguably two of the most popular PDWs available in the game, you can see straight away the 25 max damage available for the CZ is the best you're going to get of these three weapons, with the MX4 running in equal and the P90 coming in at 21%. Now at the opposite end of the spectrum, the minimum damage is pretty much looking the same way, with the CZ-3A1 and the MX4 having the exact same 12.1 minimum damage, with the P90 racking in a little lower at 11.2. But it's not all doom and gloom for the P90. You can actually see its drop off ends at 60 meters, so 5 meters further than the MX4 and the CZ-3A1. So that means it's going a little bit further before it scrapes the barrel and starts reaching out that minimum damage. But of course, with a PDW, are you going to be really realistically shooting at target 60 meters away? It's going to be a very long and difficult shot, so that extra 5 meters won't really come in that useful. Now, as we already knew, when it comes to rate of fire, we have a clear winner. The CZ-3A1 is not only 100 rounds per minute faster than the P90, but 170 rounds quicker than the MX4, so as we already clearly knew, this weapon definitely wins hands down when it comes to RPM. Now moving on to capacity, this is where the P90 comes into its own, and you can really understand why it has that lower damage model than the other personal defense weapons. With a mag size of 51 rounds, including one in the chamber, that extra 20 rounds can make a massive difference, especially at close range, at dropping multiple targets before having to make that all-important reload. But finally, taking a look at reload times, this is where the CZ-3A1 comes out as champion. This thing takes a full second less than the P90 and the MX4 to reload when it's empty. Now of course, these kind of weapons are meant for close range engagements, very close quarter situations, so the time you can shave off your reload in those kind of situations is very, very key. So an entire second off that reload time does make this weapon a clear advantage. So after taking a look at the stats and the comparisons, it does seem pretty obvious that this weapon has some clear positives when it comes to close range engagements. Now of course, all the PDWs in the game are designed for those close quarters battles, but this weapon with that 1000 rounds per minute with a 25% maximum damage model does stand out from the pack. Now of course, with its maximum damage dropping off as early as 8 meters, this weapon is definitely designed for close quarters. Games like Team Deathmatch and Domination on maps like Operation Locker and Silk Road, as you can see I'm playing here, where you're going to be engaging targets that are no more than 10 to 15 meters away, so you can really utilize that maximum damage and that rate of fire to your best advantage. If you can take these guys out at close range on those type of game modes and maps, you can really make this weapon a powerhouse. Now when it comes to attachments, I always recommend the muzzle brake. Of course, this thing's firing 1000 rounds per minute, so it's going to always have a high recoil, so try and reduce that muzzle climb as best as possible with the muzzle brake. But if you do want to try and get behind those enemies, back rage them, take them out with that 1000 RPM, you could try taking a suppressor, but be prepared to try and handle that high kick from this weapon. Now when it comes to close range weapons, I'm always going to recommend a red dot sight. Any type of red dot sight without any kind of magnification will do the trick. And of course when it comes to grips, I always recommend the stubby grip. This thing is classed as a run and gun type of grip. It actually increases your accuracy when firing from the hips. If you are playing Domination, these very close quarter situations, you will find yourself firing from the hip very often, so you want to increase the chances of getting those kills more often by having this grip. And finally, by that same logic, I'm also going to recommend the laser. This thing increases your stability when firing from the hip, so you want to make this weapon as effective as possible from close range, from firing from the hip, and of course when aiming down sight. So I really recommend you guys going out there and trying out this weapon and setup for yourself. Test out if it's the true domination beast for you. For me personally, this weapon has passed the test. This is a great weapon for close range engagements, and I will be definitely using this thing from now on when it comes to domination. But if you guys have enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and leave your comments and thoughts below. It does help me out a lot. And don't forget to leave in the comments below which weapon you would like to see review next. But in the meantime guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.